Hey all, so got a pretty quick one here today with our ninth war of this season, but a very good one if I do say so myself, because I've been wanting to bring Punisher 2099 to war for a long time. I think I have like once before maybe, but it's been a very long while. And then I always enjoy using Magneto, House of X, and Odin. We knew ahead of time from somebody else who had joined before me that this Elsa was running Double Edge, and therefore we needed to have a mutant. This path and a couple others also lined up to have the guidance pre-fight anyway, and so this was just super easy. In general, it is a good thing if the fights where you're actually using House of X are early on. I hate that she caught me by purifying that stun there. It happens sometimes. But in general, it's good if you can do those early on while he still has charges so that you're more likely to build prowess from just landing combos. Makes those fights work better. And then, as you can see, by the first time, or by the time we actually fight with somebody else, we already have 8 charges, so 4 full pre-fights. Using one here on Omega Sentinel to avoid Masochism over time. Odin does not have any debuffs in his kit outside of the parry stun, and so this should be pretty simple. The Energize is going to allow us to get to special 2s easy, or to special 1s easily if we need to, and that means we should be able to keep our True Strike up the entire fight. I can do the full special 1 evade. I've practiced it before, but honestly for this fight I just figured it wasn't worth it. We're trying to stay close. If we just sit here and block it, we're going to have more pause time on our buffs anyway. And that is ultimately what we want. We want the True Strike so we don't have to worry about the possibility of her auto-blocking. She is using up her armors periodically anyway after these specials. Notice she used up 3 right there. So there's not a huge risk to this fight. But basically the idea is not only does True Strike avoid her auto-block, but because it includes true damage, we bypass her armor. And then you just have Odin, one of the hardest hitting champions in the game as far as just simple non-crit basics go, up against a tech champion with one of the tiniest health pools in the game. So, nice and quick. Moving on to this Sauron, we like sending Nimrod against Sauron when we can, but honestly, it's not nearly as necessary as people make it out to be. I am going to throw this invulnerability on, just because sometimes his movements can catch me, especially if I end up pushing him to the special 2, and we're going to head in with House of X. Could have used Odin here. It would have been fine, but I'm going with House of X because he is bleed immune, and if we do get tagged, I would prefer not to melt out to that passive bleed. So I'm using heavies more than combos because I don't want to hit him that often, so that when he throws his special 1 and burns up all of his prowess, he won't have reached 7 or 8 yet, and therefore he won't have gone unblockable. That is the way to keep Sauron as easy as possible, is if you can't actually control his prowess, use somebody with like a 1-hit heavy, like House of X, and this just becomes much, much simpler. So I think I was trying to wait that out, didn't really feel like he was going for it, and because I don't want to lose these 3 long, bigger prowess from the heavies, I just decided to throw the special 3 here. The bigger prowess are more important because they cause the cruelty to last longer off the special 3, and that is going to be a big chunk of damage. I would love for him to throw this special 1, but he really seems to have forgotten that he has access to it. Okay, there he goes. I thought this might have been where I pushed him to a special 2. I think I do have to later. Go ahead, refresh that prowess with the heavy. It is important to note, if you're fighting him with anyone basically other than Nimrod, even with Nimrod, but especially otherwise, it really helps to have the special 1 evade down. But if he's not going unblockable, it's not really that big of a risk. Let's see, I think this is where I decide to go ahead and push him. Yeah, because that last special 1 had crit and did so much damage, I was like, maybe this will kill him. And then it did almost nothing because it didn't crit. That cruelty really isn't getting around. Anyway, here he throws it, and that's what I mean. If I don't plan perfectly for that special 2, sometimes it just catches me. It really leaps forward rapidly, and that can be a problem. Anyway, one more special 1. Sauron goes down. Weird placement because he doesn't have any armor to benefit from the chitinous thorns, but I think they were just trying to take advantage of the enhanced bleeds if he did catch you. But if you play it that way, then there's just not all that much risk to him. Anyway, headed back to Odin for this MODOK, because while he does have the best defense, and therefore you couldn't use somebody like Falcon on him here, or anyone who relies on just reducing ability accuracy would be less effective, but that doesn't do anything to stop True Strike, and so, kind of as with the last one, we're starting with heavies here to build us to our special 1, so that we have access to our True Strike. Go ahead and throw this again so that I get the True Strike and the Bulwark. I prefer to have the Odin Force ready. Not really sure why I went in and punished that. I knew it would trigger Explosive Personality. We didn't have the True Strike yet, and then, good lord, was that rude on his part. I think I did accidentally tap the left part of my screen as I was walking in, so I think MODOK was just like, ooh, he blocked. This is a great time for me to heavy, but it caught me so by surprise, I just had no time to adjust. Very, very rude. But thankfully, Odin has a decent amount of health, and it didn't crit. That would have been kind of rough if I had gotten hit earlier, and that had been his auto crits for the whole special, or for the whole heavy. Anyway, we've lost our True Strike again, but we go ahead, get it back up. We're ignoring the armor, so we don't have to worry about the damage mitigation. MODOK does have a pretty high health pool, as is typical for a lot of science champions, but especially him. But it doesn't matter. Odin hits hard, and this is done. Really love using Odin. He's very simple, but just very, very effective at what he does. So moving on to Bishop. This is the fight that I planned my other paths around. I really wanted to take this with Punisher 2099. I remembered wanting to take this a while ago. I'd forgotten about it, but Nerd reminded me that this was a good possibility, and so this was the most important thing in the war to me. I wanted to take this. So we don't have Captain America on the team. That would have been nice, because it starts him at a much higher level of battery, and you don't have to wait nearly as long to get the power control online. Didn't work out, but that's okay. The important thing here is just that we have the House of X pre-fight. Punisher 2099 is metal, and so we are not triggering Conflictor. Now, what I should have done right here is I should be throwing this special 1. I got too locked into thinking about, like, how can I get longer combos, and then right here is where I realize, oh, God. I got to 2 bars of power. That's not what I wanted to do. Now he's going to eat this armor break. It's going to give him power. That's not what I wanted. Also, that's our first energy hit, so that's the first prowess he's actually gained from his kit this entire time. And now I've lost my power control. So, pretty significant misplay there, but the important thing here is that because Punisher 2099 is a tech champion that does not do energy damage outside of a couple hits of the specials, we're just not giving Bishop prowess. And so the normal threat of his kit, of him going unblockable, and even if you block it, of it hurting, just really isn't there. And so the special 2 isn't that big of a deal, and it doesn't matter that we have to basically restart our power control. It's also worth pointing out, if I had spec'd into Tech Collar, then I could have been reducing combat power rate even more, and we could have completely shut off his combat power. Balance that with actually throwing the special 1s where I should have, and if I had been a little bit braver about dancing at the start of the fight, I think I could have finished that fight without him ever gaining a bar. Just, Punisher 2099 is, I think, still really badly underrated. His buff was very good, he can do solid damage, he has an almost completely unique method of power control. This was a particularly good fight for him, but just overall, I think he probably should be used more in war than he is right now. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I love using all three of these champions, so I certainly did.
And until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.